Hello and welcome to CBC Arts Exhibitionist, the TV show that immerses you in the beauty and brilliance of the Canadian arts world. I'm your host, Amanda Paris. In today's show, we'll meet the Halifax artist inspired by a decaying apple in her compost pile. We'll get an Art 101 class from Professor Lise that may make you want to hide under your bed. And we'll visit the only woman in Canada who owns and operates her own neon bending studio. But first, we'll hang out with the photographer focusing his lens on Winnipeg's Filipinx queer community. Get ready to enter art inspiration overload because this is CBC Arts Exhibitionist.
My name is Gonzalo. I'm a photographer. I was walking in the Philippines with my dad. I was walking slowly. He was like, "Bilisan mo maglakad, bakla ka ba? Ba't ang bagal mo maglakad?" You know, which means, walk faster. Are you gay? Why are you walking so slowly? That was a weird, confusing moment. And what's bakla? Being a gay man in the Philippines, or being bakla, it's interesting. Bakla is anyone who is born male. They can either identify as a gay person or a female identifying person. Trans people would fall under the bakla. I'm working on a portrait of bakla in Winnipeg. I want to tell the story of Filipino diaspora, particularly of the bakla, and I want them to be main plot in the story that I'm telling. Not in the margins, not as a tokenized gay best friend. I want to get past that. So I started reaching out to them like, I would like to photograph you, and if you knew anyone else, please send them my way. I only knew about 5, 6 people, and it just kind of like snowballed. And I was like, holy crap, okay, there's more people. What's in the frame is what's necessary, because I'm gonna do it in black and white, and I'm gonna get really, really close with my subjects. Nothing else. So white background, just the person, very stoic, very poetic emotions. There's more beyond that. What's your pronouns?
My pronouns is she.
Okay.
I generally have use he.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're okay with everything?
Really, whatever, yeah.
Okay, lovely.
He, she, they, really, you can even call me Barbara Streisand if you want.
I would love to call you Barbara Streisand.
Go ahead.
Winnipeg has the highest concentration of Filipinos in Canada. Since there's such a high concentration, there's a bubble. The conservative perspectives, the tokenization, the discrimination, the marginalization of bakla in the Philippines is carried over here as well in Canada, in Winnipeg. For the most part, homosexuals in the Philippines are very out there. We are everywhere. Especially in television, we always have the bakla as like the gay best friend, the flamboyant one. So whenever people find out that I'm gay back there, oh, but you don't look gay. I always get that comment a lot, you don't look gay. What do you mean when you say I don't look gay?
Once I came out, I felt so authentic.
The worst reaction was one guy who was like, oh, if we were closer, it'd be kind of weird. And I'm like, well, glad we're not.
I remember in high school, I had just recently come out, and there's this guy going across the hallways, and he was screaming, "Carl is gay." Just having that experience, I had like tough skin.
It took me a little longer to come out to my family. Coming out to my friends really helped me to do that.
Are you out to your family?
I am out to some of my family.
Some of your family.
Yes. I told my brother, it's like, hey, I'm dating someone.
Yes.
This is their name.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, cool. My sister does not know. My parents, I think, knows in the back of their head.
Okay.
But it's like the elephant in the room that's never been addressed.
When my family was kind of getting the inklings that that was what I was wanting to do, kind of were like, oh, you know, so-and-so just came out to their mom, and it's really upsetting and unfortunate, and it's just like, okay.
Mom, Dad, I gotta talk to you. I told them I was gay. I don't care if you say you don't love me. I know you still do. And I'll leave if I have to. And I went to my room. I put blankets, a pillow, and everything that I might need. And my dad comes in and says, he goes and says, go start up the table for dinner and we knew you were gay. Hearing that, while I was in tears, I was grateful.
Yeah.
I heard my parents say, "We knew you were a kid." And I told them, "You still love me?" They said, "Yeah, of course." A parent's job is to love their children unconditionally. And to that day, I'm the most grateful kid.
Thank you so much for saying that. Okay. Reset. If you were given your present self, if you're given the chance to say something to your younger self, what would that be?
Whenever you are comfortable with coming out to your friends, your family, that's up to you. It's no one's decision except your own. But it does get better.
You just gotta be courageous. Keep doing you.
Yeah.
And just know that everything is gonna be okay.
And be out and proud.
On the day of my 22nd birthday, I planned a trip with my partner. I texted my dad, my mom, and my lola. I came out to them. I texted them, I'm gay, this is who I am. I knew I was not gonna get any reception. So I had to file that at the back of my head as I was like taking photos. And then when we went back to the pier, that's when I got reception. I got texts from them. And they were like, yeah, we knew. We were just waiting for you and we still love you. That was like such a big weight lifted off my chest. It was something that I've been carrying for like many, many years. Filipino families, Filipino society in general, it keeps you in the closet. And I'm privileged because I have a family that's open and very accepting of my identity. It's the Filipinos here in Winnipeg. I want to dampen their minds that being bakla is A, not wrong, B, it's beautiful. You know, because I want people to not be afraid of who they are. I want them to embrace their identity and be proud that they're bakla. And I want to reclaim that term. Bakla has been used against us. Now I'm gonna take that word back and I'm gonna use it to empower.
I didn't think I was gonna get emotional watching this again, but can't let my mascara run. Okay, we'll move on. When you find a fruit or vegetable going off in your fridge, what do? You throw it out, right? Well, if you're Don George, our exhibitionist in residence this week, you film it and experiment with it over a 10-month period. Throughout today's episode, you'll see clips from Dawn's movie. Here she is to tell you more.
Hello, my name is Dawn George. I'm a Halifax-based media artist and this week's exhibitionist in residence. You're going to be seeing clips from my experimental video, We Are the World Mold. I make films, videos, and installations that incorporate plants, insects, and mold, and explore themes of consumerism, technology, and the environment. For this piece, I recorded time-lapse mold and then fused it together with other moving images using animation techniques. The sound that you hear for this film was all created with items that I found in my kitchen, including a few appliances. Check it out.
Coming up, Professor Lise terrifies us with art. Scary art. If you didn't know, CBC Arts' Professor Lise is kind of a rock star. Every edition of her Art 101s brings us a new batch of fan mail, where people call her work excellent, demand more episodes of the series, and declare their love for the info provided. And even though this next edition may make your knees tremble and force you to back away from the screen the way that I did, I'm sure you'll still want more as soon as it's done. Take it away, Professor Lise.
I'm Professor Lise, not really a professor, and this is Art 101, not really a class. We're here to go on a deep dive of an idea, an artwork, or a story from the art world that's controversial, inexplicable, or just plain weird. Today on Art 101, we'll get to see a few works of art that have shocked us. Back in March, Japanese artist Keisuke Iso destroyed his sculpture Mother Bird. It had the head of a woman with a stretched out mouth or beak, and the body of a bird with human-like skin. The artist says it was not intended to be long-lasting anyway, that it was falling apart on its own, but Iso may also have been reacting to the fact that his sculpture had become internationally notorious, scaring kids using the internet, and arguably scaring adults even more. Mother Bird became known to frighten parents as Momo, a ghastly figure who would show up in YouTube videos grooming their children to commit more and more dangerous acts, and eventually convincing them to attempt suicide. Now, there's little evidence that this phenomenon actually took place, but the myth took on a life of its own as the image of Momo, which I fully admit gave me the heebie-jeebies even to look at, started having its own life, showing up in newspaper articles as well as spliced into YouTube videos. Momo is pretty terrifying, but this installation by Jordan Wolfson runs a close second. Wolfson created his female figure in 2014, and the animatronic sculpture is a technological feat. When you walk into the gallery space, she alternates between dancing and singing covers of Lady Gaga and Paul Simon, and confessing her thoughts to you in a quiet voice. Did I mention that her eyes also track you, staring at you no matter where you are in the room? But Wolfson has become known for these works that speak about violence, fear, and about us as spectators. His most recent work, Real Violence, is a VR spectacle that viewers have been having genuine trouble getting through as they have to watch a digital version of the artist himself committing acts of violence to a stranger. While Jordan Wolfson's work speaks to imaginary danger and imaginary violence, back in 1997, British artist Marcus Harvey came under very real public scrutiny for his painting called Myra. The painting is a portrait of a woman's face. It looks like it was taken from an image in the newspaper, and it's completely formed from repeated child's handprints. They had been cast in plaster and used as a sort of paintbrush. On its own, the image doesn't depict anything but someone's face, until you find out that the subject, Myra Hindley, was a serial killer, convicted of murdering children in Britain in the 1960s, and this painting is of her mugshot when she was arrested. The work incensed viewers to the point where one of them attacked the work, prompting questions about when and how it's appropriate to depict somebody who has done so much evil. Work that scares us is not always quite so grim, but it is often work that is morbid or makes us reflect on death or just shakes us to our core. Take work by artist Damien Hirst, who first came to notoriety for his installation called The Physical Impossibility of Death in the Mind of Someone Living. It's an artwork from 1991 made up of a tiger shark suspended in a case filled with formaldehyde. Hirst went on to make other works featuring animals and formaldehyde, including ones where the body was split in half, so viewers were looking at a cross-section of the animal's insides. And Hirst has talked about these as works that provoke us to think about our own mortality. They're sort of contemporary memento mori. Viewers have been alarmed by the fact that he uses animals to do it, but that hasn't stopped Hirst from continuing on his memento mori bent and becoming perhaps the richest living artist in the world. Other artists have reflected on our inevitable demise in similarly graphic ways. In 1991, another British artist named Mark Quinn created a work called Self. The work is a head that looks like it was decapitated and put in a case, and it just happens to be made out of the artist's own blood. And every 5 years, he would make a new version of the work out of fresher blood. Yes, it's another example of a memento mori and successfully causes us to ruminate on mortality and death. Lest you think that violence, strange creatures, or shocking scenes are new to the art world, think again. Artists have been scaring us for centuries. Look at any image of the Last Judgment or of hell, and you'll see some pretty terrifying monsters. In the 1600s, Italian artist Artemisia Gentileschi painted Judith slaying Holofernes, a pretty graphic depiction of Judith as she removes the head of Holofernes. Francisco Goya's depictions of the disasters of war in the 19th century showed the horrors that came from conflict in shocking detail, and his painting Saturn devouring his son of the 19th century still makes me steel myself before I can look at it. And sometimes what scares us can be satire or uncomfortably funny. like Italian artist Maurizio Catalan's installation of Pope John Paul II hit by a meteor from space. While you can definitely call this work sacrilegious, it's also a scathing satire of religion itself, and a taking down of an icon by an artist who comes from Italy. So what piece of art has made you want to hide under the bed? Is there something you've never been able to look at without watching Home Alone afterward to make you feel safe again? Let me know, and I'll see you next time for more Art 101.
Coming up, we meet the woman bending the rules in the male-dominated world of neon art. This next artist that we're about to meet is working in a medium that requires a ton of focus and precision because you could literally die doing it. Robin Clason is the only woman in Canada who owns and operates a neon bending studio. She's part of a small community of women determined to innovate the craft.
If you bend your glass and blow too hard, you can blow a hole essentially in the glass. So it's this perfect storm of needing to do it exactly so. And then the second part of the process, when you're bombarding the glass, you're working with about 18,000 volts and 3 amps, so that part is lethal, so you could potentially kill yourself. There's a lot that can go wrong, a lot that can hurt you, and a lot that yeah, can be a pretty steep learning curve. My name is Robin Clason, and I'm a neon artist, as well as a large-scale light installation artist. So I moved my studio from the country, so now I'm in an 8-foot by 20-foot shipping container, and it has beautiful skylights and doors that open on both ends for a nice cross breeze. It's not totally out in the middle of nowhere, but it's in a little slice of nowhere in the city, which is nice. There we go. That's how you do it, right? Okay. I consider light my primary medium, so neon right now is the medium that helps me, I guess, express that or to show various forms of light and shadow and all the other concepts that I work with. So neon was an evolution from working with plastics and other glass forms, working like cutting glass and assembling them into sculptural pieces. Starting with neon was intimidating in that you can watch somebody set up the torches and turn the gas and the air on and understand like there's a specific order of doing things, and they look so comfortable doing it, but then the second that you yourself are in front of these flames and trying to remember all of the things they teach you, like everything needs to be backwards and you have to blow into your glass tubes like just the right amount. And neon sign makers say that it takes about 5 years of full-time neon bending just to make the letter E, for example. It just takes a lot of understanding of the medium and a lot of breakage and a lot of mistakes and I think dedication to just keep going with it. When I'm bending neon, I feel that it brings me into a very meditative state. No matter what's going on in your life, you're kind of forced to be very present with what you're doing. I like to find inspiration in things around me, so these blades of grass, for example, or chain link fence, because the lines, I like to translate very clean shapes into my work, and the lines in a chain link fence connect so beautifully. And they're actually almost tubes themselves, so they will lend itself really well to the medium. The neon industry, the neon world is very male-dominated. There is a small pocket of women bending now, and through the show She Bends that originally opened in Los Angeles at the Museum of Neon Art, we all were curated together, and then a lot of us were there at the show, so we got to meet each other and learn about each other's practices and see each other's work. It's been a pretty incredible thing being able to see other women and just be able to have those conversations with women about how to do a bend, or what do you think about like selling this piece, or having like a dialogue. Yeah, I really appreciate that. I think my hopes for Neon are to teach people and share any information that I have, and also to like go to various places, you know, in the world, to be able to have a conversation with people about the process and about the history, and to bring the neon to people.
An art studio in a shipping container. That's genius. I think I'm gonna have to borrow that idea. If there's an artist you think should be on CBC Arts Exhibitionist, send me a message on social media. Our handle is @CBC Arts. Also, if you have a question you want Professor Lise to tackle on Art 101, hit us up. You can check out all the topics she's already covered on YouTube. Tune in next week where we'll be doing another deep dive into the invigorating work of Canadian artists. Peace.